Hi, everyone. Today's webinar is on PowerPoint. So Microsoft PowerPoint is probably the most popular app that's used to give presentations. And its close second is Google Slides, which is Google's version. So there's a few key things that go into making a PowerPoint presentation. So first, you'll have to add slides, which are individual pages in the presentation. Then you add content to those slides. So text boxes, images, charts, graphs. You can also change the theme and style of your presentation to make it either look more professional or just make it look more like what you're trying to do. You can also add things like presentation aids. So one example is speaker notes, which is something you can look at like notes for yourself if you haven't memorized a script. There's also presenter view, which is better for online meetings. People who are viewing your presentation will only see the slides, but you can see speaker notes and everything. So to get started, you'll obviously have to make your presentation. So PowerPoint does come with a few like built-in themes. So for example, there's 3D float design. I'm just going to go with blank presentation. I think that's the simplest. So to do that, you just click, and then it loads up. So first off, you'll see there's a lot of different things up here. So the first thing is autosave. That comes with some versions of PowerPoint, and that basically means you don't have to like manually save that often. So that way, if it crashes for whatever reason, you don't have to worry, oh no, did I save, or do I have to redo everything? So up here at the top, you'll see all these different tabs. That's called the ribbon. So I'm just going to quickly go through each tab and kind of explain what you would do. So first up is File. So this takes you back to this window. You can see Home, Open, some info here. So Save and Save As, these will usually be white once you've added something to your presentation. And that'll let you either save, or if it's new, it'll save it to your hard drive. You can also print if you're like putting this on paper. You can share it with others if you're collaborating, export, and close. And to get back to the presentation, you just go to the back button, which is kind of at the top. So next is the Home tab. So this is where a lot of the most useful things are. So the Home tab has most used features. That's why it's the first thing that you'll see. You open it. So it has things like text. So for example, if I click here and I type like title, select it, and I can go up here. And there's a ton of different fonts available. And if you hover over it, it gives you like a little preview. And then if you like one, you can click it. You can also adjust the size. There's some pre-built. You can always type in a number if you want something in between. You can highlight, you can change the color. Over here, you'll see you can also add a few different shapes. So to do that, you just click and then you can drag. Hopefully you can see there's a triangle of different sizes. And as I move my mouse, it's changing size. And once you're happy, you can let go and it creates the shape. So the next tab is Insert. So this is useful if you're adding specific content to a slide. So for example, there's New Slide. So by default, you can just press Control M or Command M on Mac, and it'll create a new slide. But if you see here, there's actually a few different formats. So for example, you can have a comparison if you're comparing two different things, a title slide, a blank slide. So by default, it'll just create this title and content slide, which is the most used one. But if you want another one, then you'd have to go to Insert. You can also do Table, which is a great way to organize things. Pictures, so if you have a picture, you want to put that in. You can also add a screenshot, a photo album. Again, there's also shapes here. And this does have a few more options than the default shapes on Home. Microsoft also recently added icons. So there's some nice little 3D things there. There's also 3D models. There's charts, and there's also things like smart art, which are a little more technical. You'll see over here, there's also things like screen recording, which is useful if you're adding something you've recorded before into your presentation. All right, Next is I'll jump over here to view. So there's a few different ways you can see your slideshow. So first is normal. That's the layout I currently have. So you can see the slide you're working on in the main portion of your screen. Then off to the side, there's all the other slides. There's also outline view, which will take you to this. So this is like, you can see your speaker notes. There's slide sorter. So this, I only have one slide, but usually there would be little panels indicating each slide. There's notes page, which shows it as like one continuous document. And then reading view, which is like this. So you like toggle back and forth and you can see your slideshow as if it's being presented. But I think I'll stick to normal. So then I'll jump back to design. The design tab is a great way to make your presentations more eye-catching. So right now this title slide looks kind of bland. So let's make it a little bit more lively. So there's a bunch of built-in themes here. For example, if I select, say, this one, it automatically reformats everything, and you can see this already looks quite nice. And PowerPoint also has this nice feature of design ideas. So on a slide, it will suggest, based on what's on your slide, what the program thinks, hey, this would look nice. So for example, this thought bubble, it thinks that would look nice based on the word title. So now that I've kind of covered this title slide, I'm going to go more in depth about how to make a full presentation. So if I go back to insert, I'm going to quickly create a new slide. So I'm going to go to the very left, there's new slide, click that, and then choose title and content. You can see it created a new slide here. So you can think of slides as like individual units in your presentation that you can fill with content. So there's no real limit to how many slides you can have in a PowerPoint, short of if you don't have the cloud storage option, how much space is on your hard drive. But if you have too many slides, then it can make your PowerPoint quite long and somewhat boring. So first, let's talk about how to add content. So as I mentioned before, there's a few things in insert and there's a few things in home. So you'll see here, by default, it creates some text boxes that say click to add title, and that'll disappear as soon as you type something. So I'll click and I'll say slide 1. And then you'll see here in this text box, there's actually a few different options. So PowerPoint is suggesting different things that you could put in. So this is a faster way to insert things, so like a chart. I think I'm going to insert a table. So a new window pops up. It says number of rows, number of columns, and the maximum limit is a 75 by 75 table. So if you need more than that, you should probably split it over 2 slides. I'm just going to go with the default 5 by 2 and then click OK. And you can see it made this nice little table. So now, just like a regular table, I can click each individual cell and type something in there. So for example, call 1, and then some text. So let's say I did this multiple times and there were a bunch of different slides and I really wanted to make my thing look nice. So again, back in design. So there's some more options here. For example, I think this one looks nice, so I'll go with that. And then on this side here, there's some variants. So for example, the little squares are the color palette that PowerPoint will use. So this one, it's kind of small, but it's red, orange, yellow, green, and a light and darker blue. And then the second one is like a turquoise, green, yellow, and a couple of oranges and red. And you can see as I'm hovering over them, it's automatically changing it. So if you want something like bright and flashy, then something white would be nice. If you're trying something like more soothing, something nicer to look at, or just easier on the eyes, something black is probably nicer. And this is really up to you, what you think. And again, it shows some design ideas. So it says, hey, maybe you want to center your table, or you want to have a table and then something else next to it. So this is really useful, and you can always scroll down to the bottom and hit see more ideas and generate a few more. You can also adjust next to variants. There's slide size, so towards the right. And you can choose standard, which is 4:3, or widescreen 16:9. So this is basically the aspect ratio. So for basically the number of pixels wide and tall, the slide it. So standard 4:3 is going to be for every 4 pixels across, there's 3 pixels down. And widescreen, which is how most screens are formatted these days, it's going to be for every 16 across, you go 9 down. So you can see if I switch to standard, there's an option to maximize or scale it down. And you can see it's scaled down to a nice ratio. You can also choose the format background, that's more advanced. And if you want to reopen design ideas at any time, it's at the very far right, just click design ideas and it regenerates them. You would continue working on this, a nicer title, maybe adding in some more images. You could add speaker notes. And if you're getting ready to present, and you want something flashy, you can add in animations. So that's again in the top and just right next to transitions. So transitions is basically if I'm going between slides, what kind of effect do I want? So none, it'll just automatically switch like a click, something like morph, you can see there. And then, so this is a new thing. I can do fade. You can see the slide fades in, push, it kind of flies in, fall over, something falls back, and then you see the next slide. So that's useful for switching between slides. And then within slides, you can add animations. So to do that, you would first select the thing you want to animate. And then there's a few different things. For example, bounce. Things you can see it's kind of bouncing, and then it ends up in the final position. Or I can say grow and turn, and it kind of spins it. So you can play around with this and see how it works. You can choose when it starts. So there's 3 options: on click, so you have to click an arrow key or with the mouse. With previous, if you want to synchronize elements, have them go at the same time, you can do that. And after previous, it'll play them in a sequence. So if you don't want to click through a bunch of times to see all the animations, then with previous and after previous are probably better, because that will load in as soon as the slide changes. You can also change the duration of the animation. I believe this is seconds, and then the delay. So it'll wait for some time and then start the animation. And it goes up in 0.25 second increments, but you can always type something else and it'll automatically increment by that. And so finally, if you want to run the slideshow, you can go all the way down to the bottom right. You can see there's kind of a zoom bar here. So if you want to zoom in on your presentation, you can use that. But then you can see there's kind of 4 icons. So this is the regular view, slide sorter. You might remember these from the other tab. Then there's reading view and slideshow. So slideshow is the default way. There's also notes here if you want to see speaker notes. So if I do slideshow, you can see there's a tab here. So this is your slide. This is the next slide, so you can kind of prepare. And this is where any speaker notes would be. And this is also how long your presentation has been going. So if you're trying to do it in a time limit, and you can flick back and forth between slides, and you can see again, the animation runs. And then if you want to stop, you go up here at the top, it says end slideshow, and you click that, and you'll go back to the editing view. So yeah, that was the webinar on PowerPoint.